From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole.
We'll get to the economy in just a moment, but first some breaking news about a very unusual situation. It involves a child and a home-built aircraft in the shape of a UFO powered by helium.
You remember this moment. Colorado and the nation held its breath as we waited to learn the fate of a 6-year-old who was thought to be stuck inside a silver balloon floating across northern Colorado. The Heene family was living in Fort Collins in 2009 when they made a giant helium-filled balloon shaped like a saucer. They called police one afternoon to say they'd lost control of the balloon and that it had floated thousands of feet into the sky with their youngest son, Falcon, inside. Police and reporters scrambled to respond. But the story broadcast on people's TV screens quickly changed. First, it turned out that Falcon had been at home in the attic the whole time. Then, people began questioning whether the whole thing had been a hoax. The story and its strange aftermath is the subject of Balloon Boy, a new documentary episode of Netflix's series Trainwreck. It comes out Tuesday. We talked to the director of the documentary, Jillian Pachter, about why she wanted to revisit this story.
I remember absolutely vividly being glued to my desktop computer, just riveted and terrified as I watched this flying saucer / helium balloon escape across the skies of Colorado with a 6-year-old boy inside. And it was terrifying, and I'd never forgotten it. So I remember in December 2020, and I read in the New York Times that the Heene family, which was the family at the heart of the Balloon Boy hoax, had been pardoned by the governor of Colorado. And I thought, wow, and it brought it all back. And I thought, you know what? I'd like to get in touch with the dad, because I had a little boy at the time who was about the same age. And I guess I could never really understand why a dad would pretend that his little boy was in peril for attention. It made no sense to me emotionally as a parent. And so I thought, I'm going to call this guy and just start a conversation with him.
It's been more than 15 years since the Balloon Boy incident. I'm curious, how open was the family with you as you asked them to revisit that day?
They were cautious about talking to anybody who was connected to the media because they felt they'd always been misconstrued. They'd obviously been really vilified. He'd gone from America's dad that everybody was rooting for to America's most hated dad, and pretty much stuck there. But we gradually got to know each other, and they became very open with me, after we were talking for a bit. Yeah.
I want to play a clip from Larry King Live on CNN. This was the same day of the incident. Falcon's dad, Richard Heene, asks why Falcon didn't come out when he was called. And Falcon, the 6-year-old boy, says something in response.
He's asking Falcon, did you hear us calling your name at any time? You did?
You did?
Why didn't you come out?
You guys said that we did this for the show.
He says, you guys said we did this for the show. Looking back, how did the family talk with you about how that single moment on Larry King Live defined the rest of their lives?
Well, it's important to say that the family are very clear that their truth is that it was not a hoax. That the moment that they called the sheriff in a state of panic, they feared that their 6-year-old was up there. So they were both perplexed and devastated. They were perplexed that 10 words from a 6-year-old somehow, turned everything on its head, that then everything they said was meaningless, that everybody was so sure what their kid meant. They were shocked and really saddened that people had gone from sharing their joy and being reunited with their kid to thinking that they were just these charlatans who had made the whole thing up.
Well, Jillian, I remember being here in Colorado when this was going on, and I think pretty much everyone believed it was a hoax. It sounds like after talking with them, you're not convinced of that.
So you know what? I don't want to deprive anyone out there of the journey of watching this, right? Because I think that, in a way, I think where people land now that when they hear everybody speak, and we have everybody in this show, from the sheriff to the detective, it's going to be about emotional truth. People are going to either listen to the Heenes and their very emotional story, and they're going to be like, you know what? My gut is with them. Or they're going to listen to them, the same story, and other people are going to go like, they're acting, and I mean, yeah, I have my own feelings about it. Put it this way. I thought there was enough doubt that it was really worth going back and actually hearing from the family that never got to tell their story.
We should note that the Heene parents met in acting school. Did you ever feel like their interview with you was a performance?
I've interviewed a lot of people in my career. My honest answer to that is no, actually, that I felt they were sharing their truth, that I felt they had been consistent over the years and felt this very passionately. And we're not just talking about the dad, Richard, but, the kids who are now grown, their mom, Mayumi. I never felt that they were putting on a show for me.
The coverage of this event in 2009 happened before social media had really exploded. How do you think the reaction would be different today if an event like this happened now?
So people are so much more cynical about what they see these days, right? This was before fake news. It was before AI. This was an era where we were more united as a nation. And this is an event that we all experienced together. And everybody was glued to the screen and everybody was terrified about Falcon. And then everybody felt so betrayed because everybody really had invested. Now I think people would be doubting from the beginning of it. And it's also hard to imagine all of us being captivated by the same event and having that shared experience. So I think this was a more innocent time. And I think that explains a lot about how strongly people felt watching it and how strongly people felt when they felt they'd been lied to.
Jillian Pachter directed the documentary Balloon Boy, which is available Tuesday on Netflix. It's an episode of the series Trainwreck. If you like documentaries, we've talked about some good ones on In The NoCo. Check out our conversations about films that explored a solar housing project championed by former President Jimmy Carter, and an athlete who used extreme running to work through his mental health struggles. We'll put links in our show notes and at kunc.org. And if you'd like to share your thoughts on today's episode, email us at noco@kunc.org. That's NOCO@kunc.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thank you so much for listening.